And we're live. We had to wait. We had to get Sean really psyched up. Someone suggested, yeah, he's got to make sure his beard's brushed and everything else. He's got to be prepared for this.
Well, I think I saw Ray Orsini in there. Yes, I saw his comments, so I know he has a beard brush. And sometimes you got to prep.
You got to prep. This is the
prep and print.
Welcome to Business Technicalities, a very special edition here. We have Jason Magee, CEO of ConnectWise, going to join us to talk about PitchIT. What's PitchIT, Sean?
What's PitchIT? You don't want to talk about what it is this time? I mean, you did so well with it.
I flubbed it once and then Sean picked it up. See, Sean flubbed it the first couple of times. Tom flubs it, and then
I'll talk about PitchIT. PitchIT is simple. This is a program that was brought to us by ConnectWise, right? It's a Shark Tank concept, and what it boils down to is we're looking for the best vendors to support the partner base to be part of our ecosystem, right? And they go through a competition in PitchIT where we're about to come to the preliminaries actually in 2 weeks, which I'm super stoked about. And we're at the Battle Royale, which we'll get into in a second. From this, we're going to then determine 3 finalists. These 3 finalists are going to show up at IT Nation, not just show up, we actually invite them. But they'll come to IT Nation Connect and compete for the grand prize of $70,000. The important pieces we look for and factors we look for in vetting to get these people to be part of it is a couple of things. One is that they are able to be very complementary to the ConnectWise community, the ecosystem, the economy. They have to be supportive and involved there. But also on the other side, the whole point is these are vendors for MSPs. So these MSPs are our bread and butter. They're our bloodstream. So very important that they can support the partners in the way we see fit. So that is it for that. What else do you want to know?
It's really cool because of even if they're not the winner, they go through a hell of a program is the way I can describe it. Because now that they've gone through this, they've gone through all these training, things like that. I think it's more than just a competition. It's a big learning experience for them. So even if they aren't the one selected, they come out so much better for it. I think that's one of the things we're going to touch on in this program is there's a lot that goes into it.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at what some of the, we've been blessed with really good vendors to be involved with us. And the one thing is they've been very complimentary of the program. We put them through 16 weeks of an accelerator incubator program, right? Just trying to help them tie up loose ends or teach them different ways of doing certain things, from sales and marketing to mergers and acquisitions to whatever may be, And the bottom line was every week they had a new person that was an industry leader in this. It wasn't just somebody just speaking hyperbole. It's actually somebody that's actually a practitioner that's been successful in selling their own businesses or whatever it may be. And then along the course of the 16 weeks of them doing these workshops, they also were doing webinars with people like you and I and me and Adam Bolensky. So they were also working on perfecting their speak and getting some exposure as well.
Absolutely. So should we bring on the person who greenlit this whole fun project?
Absolutely. Tim, thank you. It does look good. Thank you. Yes, we're going to now. So let me bring on Jason Magee. Hello, sir.
Hello, guys. How's it going?
Going great.
So I'm just kind of curious. Did you guys freak out when you saw me disappear from the screen about 2 minutes ago?
I was like, he's had enough of Sean already.
I was thinking I had to teach you how to go back and click on the link, but I felt we were okay. I was like, I was having an oh shit moment. Yes. But you're back and we're good.
Yeah. Funny story. I went to click on the comments, but I clicked on the X and closed down my screen. So that's why I disappeared for a minute.
Nice.
I wanted to see Ray. You mentioned Ray's name. I'm like, oh, let me go see the comments and what's being said. So I shut down on you about it.
So the guy that greenlit everything, he doesn't know how to work technology. It's awesome. No, thank you.
Look, and actually, Sean, I don't even know if you know this history, but not just greenlit, right? I mean, the original concept of PitchIT came from Tony and I some years ago, right? Mm-hmm. We had a concept of how can we help get things started up and, really promote and give a launch pad for a handful of companies. And, it was obviously tied to and surrounded around IT Nation Connect, so we could give a really big launch pad and so on. And it's something that I was passionate about years ago and still am. So it's a really good program.
I like that it's a very MSP focused accelerator program, because there's other business accelerator programs, but you're bringing them right to a very specific market and giving them the tools they need to understand the MSP needs, because some of them came from MSP, so they're filling a gap that they knew as an MSP. But like other friend from NASA, he came from another angle and just solving a problem, but didn't understand the channel partner program. I believe he said he learned quite a bit about how to actually present it as a solution, and what, even if you're not in the business or you're just making a product, you don't even know what the word channel partner really, you may not have a full concept of how that works and how to deploy it.
Yeah, no, look, it's, the resources, and I would say to Tom, what you're saying there, and I give Sean, credit for this, right? I mean, he's taken the program that we've been doing for a few years now, right? And we've got some of the past winners, involved in whether it's judging and coaches and all that
Mhm.
stuff, but taking it to a whole new level, right? You've got, the 16 weeks that you're putting through this, and we've got all these leaders that have been there, done that, as you guys mentioned, and it's pretty amazing, right? So whether you're from this space or the NASA reference, and what company is he with again? I forget
That's
the name.
chat style. He
Yeah,
created
that's
a, yeah, he literally said he lived on an island where you were one of two things. You were either a farmer or a NASA worker. That's like I didn't know that. I didn't know that island existed. I immediately thought of the show Lost and thought like that island that everybody lived on. That must be that island.
Yeah,
But yeah,
those are the two career paths in the community you grew up in. Is like you
yeah,
work for NASA or you become a farmer.
that was it. So yeah, no, and to your point, Jason, it's the program itself has done well. Well, first, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. But second, the program is pretty comprehensive now. We bringing in these other people from, and again, like we had like Amy Luby from Acronis, that was one of the coaches, a cameo coach. We had Heather Margolis as a cameo coach. She's already sold she started bootstrap companies, sold them all within the channel. So again, you're talking about two people that have done it, and when they gave their time for free too, just to be part of it for the greater good, which is an investment, and that's an investment we did too as a company, which is again back to being a big deal. It's pretty important. So no, there's a lot going on with it. We're happy with it, but that's where it comes back to you. Yeah, you created it, you greenlit it, but we stress on all of our episodes with everybody. We always bring back your three promises and how they tie into this. So, and I always say what it is, but obviously I'm not you, so I'd rather hear from the horse's mouth is, when we talk about this, how do the three promises, how do they tie into what we're doing here in your mind?
Yeah, look, I mean, it ties in several ways, right? Obviously, we don't have enough time to talk about them all, but the high level, if you look at, I'll start with more innovation faster, right? So, yeah, there's the stuff that we're going to do organically with ConnectWise, right? So we can produce more innovation faster for, our MSPs and our partners and even the vendors and so on out there. But what's great about this and, the fact that we are a platform, right? More innovation faster doesn't have to be just ConnectWise, right? We've got 18 companies that are innovating, leveraging our platform, whether building on top or integrating into, and, really being able to bring that to market to the community, right? The IT Nation, MSPs globally, and so on, right? So that's innovation that otherwise may not have been there, right? Because, bringing their ideas and thoughts and business concept in partnership with ConnectWise and this program gets more innovation out there, right? So that's one example for the more innovation faster. Sean, did you want to say anything there or no?
No, I actually, that's exactly where I position it. That's exactly how I see it is who better to go to than these companies, especially if they were MSPs.
Yeah.
That are bringing a real need, and they can actually develop faster because we're already we already have our roadmap built out. And sometimes that's not part of it. And it's something that might be needed. So it's complementary. So
exactly. And that's the great thing about, kind of the, history and the journey of ConnectWise. We've always been around about this stuff, right? So many companies have kind of built on top, built around, participated within the community and the platform to build some really successful companies from, and I'll use the channel ED, entry to exit, right? So they began and they had successful exits along the way. And then look, even invested more in your growth, right? So, we're investing in these 18 participants in the program, many of which are MSPs, right? Former and or still are involved in their MSP, right? So we're giving them additional opportunity, right? But that's not what we're talking about necessarily when we say more invest in your growth. These are tools that will be tools and services in the platform that they'll be able to bring down to their customer base, right? New services, new revenue opportunity, and so on. And also, growth is not just on top line, but it's also about optimization, time saving, doing more, and so on with, the tools you have. And that's what this is all about as well, right? So it's a huge investment, whether it's growth or optimization, and, similar to easier to do business with, right? I mean, this is bringing a lot of the stuff together. And Sean, you said it, right? We may not have it on our roadmap now or forever, right? Or it could be years down, right? So we can make it easier for our partners to do business with us, for them to run their business and everything by these 18, partners and vendors. They bridge gaps, right? Make it easier for the MSPs globally out there. So, I'm just scratching the surface. There's multiple ways that you could relate the program to the three promises.
Couldn't agree more. And even going back to the easier to do business with itself, we actually took our time to vet out technologies and vendors that we thought are complementary to MSPs. So, and you've been here long, you've been around long enough. All of us have, and been to enough shows. You walk on that floor, there's a lot there, and you're confused. And what should you buy, and who's most complementary to what you're trying to accomplish? Because there is no one size fits all. And I think we've done a pretty good job at ConnectWise even to determine that we aren't the one size fits all for everything you might be doing. We hope to be part of it and then help you with the other parts if possible, so you can be a successful MSP.
Yeah. So I will say we do a lot of that really well. What we're not so good at with Sean and Tom is, if you look, I keep moving my chair around because the way my office has been set up is I've got like the lightsaber just coming right out from top of my head. Right? So you're going to see me sit like this, or you're going to see me move my laptop around. So we did not optimize placement of lights in my desk in my office. Yeah.
Well, you have windows all around you, man. That natural light. You need to have a desk.
We didn't
right
build
out
it
of
as
the
a
corner.
media room.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So we'll put that on the roadmap for the office to have a media room. So when I'm down there, I can go in and do this. You can go in. Whoever needs to gets a nice room.
Hopefully next time I'm on this, we'll have the studio built out. Studio's a couple of months out, but like our old office, we had like the ESPN style studio.
Absolutely.
We're replicating that concept in the new space. So
yeah, and for those that don't know, we just moved our office. That's why he's saying this. I think we have the grand opening, September?
So we're doing a colleague only, and then we're going to do a big powwow that will have some of the partners that want to come down into town for. They'll be more January.
See, so everybody knows. We'll have a really cool studio. Tom, you can come down. We'll just create some content down there.
Hey, why not?
Yeah, I just totally invited you in. Jason didn't say no. So
kind of up to Jason, I think. I think he may have some influence on the decision.
We got the buy-in already.
Look, I've learned I don't even have that influence. There's a team of people. They'll plan it. And, it's like IT Nation. I show up and I have my bosses that, tell me where to be, when, and all that. Those things are no different. So
I've witnessed that personally, by the way. Up to and including making sure he actually eats when he's on the road. So I've witnessed it all. So yeah, let's go back around to, we talked about the type of people that are in there, the contestants themselves. We do have a slew that are MSPs, or were MSPs, or are still current MSPs. So they're running two businesses, right? On the other side, we have people that have come from outside of the space. One being like the one guy from NASA, right? Another one that is coming from everybody's favorite, the print industry. Which, by the way, a lot of print companies are starting to become MSPs. If people didn't know that, just because there was, especially during COVID, when there was nobody in offices, they lost a lot of money. So I think, when we talk about this, the importance of variety and versatility, especially in our space, because there's so many requirements and so many different needs. I don't know. I saw it as being a big thing, but aside from those guys, coming back like the coaches and judges, I think Juan Fernandez pretty well. He was like the first year PitchIT winner.
Yeah.
He's one of our judges. He's already given me a lot of critique, by the way, personally, which I'm glad it was personal because I don't want it public. But
hopefully some of the critique, not necessarily for this year, because we have bared the resources in the 16 weeks and so on. He's probably like, why didn't I have that intensity when, he went through it? So,
Well, yes, he did say that too. He did say that. Well, and a question I have though is if you're evaluating vendors and startups, how would you evaluate?
how would I?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things, right? So obviously you got to think product market fit, right? That takes you so far in our space. Then you got to look at the challenges of technology that's being managed out of an MSP or TSP. Got to make sure that's applied, right? So it's still product market fit, but not everyone understands that. Because if you look at, there's so much technology out there, but just because it's out there and it's good doesn't mean it makes it easier for MSPs, right, to manage their customers and so on. I think culture fit is a big thing, right? So if I go back 10, 11 years ago when, I started at ConnectWise, and when I started, a couple of months in, the leadership team back then said, hey, we want you to handle this, third party relationship concept that we've got brewing over here. Good opportunity. We think you're the right person. And, as I started to, figure out, all right, hey, our name is going to be associated with these vendors, various types of vendors, right? Had to make sure culturally that they weren't a one and done, right? They were going to come in and they weren't going to see the return after one event or 6 months or 12 months and then jump out, because, that's not what MSPs want. They want the vendor that's going to be there. They're going to be along the side of them, the good times, the bad times, help them grow, invest in them, be at the events, right? Be at the after hours, all that stuff, right? So culture is a big thing that, I look at when I'm evaluating other vendors or partnerships and so on.
What's some of the on that topic though, what is some of the key things you look to make sure they are in for the long haul? They're going to show up at a few events. They're going to be committed to, supporting the ecosystem, interacting with the MSPs.
Yeah. So I would say they understand that this space is the long game. It's not a short game, right? That if they have ROI expectations of $100 million in 1 year, that's not going to happen, right? That it's going to be, hey, they need to see you at 1 or 2 or 3 of the big events. You're establishing a brand. You're establishing, hey, we're here. Then people will say, hey, let me give them a shot, right? So I'm going to set that expectation. I'm going to make sure that they understand that. In some cases, Tom, if, when I was sitting in that seat evaluating those partnerships, I'd even put a charter in place and say, hey, this is ConnectWise's expectation for us to be a partner with you, to make sure they understood that. And then it was going to be, all right, then sales will start, and then you'll start to get a little bit more volume, and then it'll expand exponentially from there. And it's a 12 to 18 month process before you really start to see things take off, right? Some vendors a lot quicker, some vendors a little longer, but that was generally it. But really sitting down and having that conversation with them, Tom, and making sure that, they didn't go in freak out mode or ask if, hey, how can we short circuit this? How can we do it quicker? If they did things like that, that would be a red flag that, they're only coin operated. As it related to working with ConnectWise, we'd make sure that, there was alignment with their sales and marketing teams, with our sales and marketing team, because we wouldn't want competing messaging or people out there in terms of really building that awareness. But then I would say the last part is they're investing in opportunity to educate and train, right? So again, we want our partners and mutual partners to grow. So we got to enable that. Right. So those are a lot of the things that I did and what I still look for when I chat with vendors. And I still chat with many vendors all the time that want to crack into the space, whether they're early stage or they're some of the large players.
So who's getting a Teams call? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that would be me.
I looked at my Teams like 4 times. I'm like, that's not me.
That's what I was thinking too. So.
I kept looking. I was like, shit. Okay. Yes. Sorry, good, Tom.
No, I say it's probably it's one of those things, like a lot of people, especially if you're building a SaaS company. I know, because I deal with some of the outside of the MSP space SaaS companies. They're looking for this really high growth factor accelerator. I don't want to be another unicorn and make something. So I guess it can be probably tricky understanding the MSP space is more about the relationships, because MSPs expect the vendor to be there for the long haul to support them. And it's a common complaint you're going to see a lot of MSPs is how good the engagement is. What kind of support do we get from this company? Do they fit our needs, and will they continue to support us, our customers, so we can integrate with their product? It's vetting the vendors is something that I hear a lot amongst MSPs. That can be kind of a challenging to do to figure them out. So I think it's good that ConnectWise helps bring the ones in that you've done some due diligence on to make sure that they're good fits before we get to see them.
Yeah, and I would say, the one that you want to make sure as well, and it's part of the culture thing, is their go-to-market as well, right? Making sure that at any point they wouldn't be looking to, go direct to the MSP's customers and so on, right? So the channel only play is usually a good, good discussion to have with the vendor as well. So just want to make sure I added that one in there.
Oh yeah, having good partner agreements and things like that. I've heard Ray Orsini say a lot of good things about, and I've seen him diffuse arguments like that. You'll see the usual silly disputes that go on Reddit. Are they going around me? And Ray's like, well, what was their channel partner program? Oh, we didn't sign one with them. Well, they don't have one, some random vendor. I think it's important to have those conversations ahead of time. Make sure that they're fitting that and actually have a methodology by which they handle it.
Yep.
One of our contestants, Tim Golden, loves that you're ignoring your call. So I just want to point that out. That just tells you he's smooth. He's been doing this for so long. So yeah, all right. So let's dig into that a minute, because I think the big part about, and we can use Ray because he is a good example, is proper expectation setting in a relationship. And I just had a call today with one of our contestants about that. The legality, is there anything illegal about anything? Well, it's only illegal if you don't have an agreement saying that it is legal. So when we talk about this, and we're a big enough company and we have so much involvement, I find it to be important that you say, hey, these are your leads, these are your clients, they're not ours. We're protecting your database, and vice versa. So, back to ease of doing business is also that relationship piece. I feel like, opportunity registration, people do it all the time, and you hear lots of horror stories where all of a sudden the vendor, especially when I was in the telco space, and I'm not going to mention the company, but they would literally prospect against the partner. They would see the opportunity for big ones, and it happens all the time. So that's a huge part. So that's back to the relationship piece itself, maintaining that professionalism. Michelle was talking about, listen, learn what partners need to succeed, create relationships to drive their growth, enable MSP's growth.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it's not rocket science. Mutual success is better for all the people, all parties involved. It's not like one person has to succeed at the expense of another. The channel partner program should accelerate the growth, mutual success, and it's pretty achievable. A lot of companies have figured it out.
A lot of companies have, and sometimes it's easier said than done for new companies that want to come in the space, though. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's very unfortunate. So even and coming back to the vendors that are in, a lot of these guys, most of our contestants have been around for 2 to 5 years approximately. And you can use that term, you can use that time frame loosely, because they may not have had a product that's gone to market yet up until a year ago, even, right?
Yep.
And so with that, and since you've done this for so long, since you've been part of PitchIT, you've also ConnectWise, you've also watched tons of companies grow. What's some things some hurdles they should look out for as they're going?
So one that, so I chat with lots of, I would say, early stage companies in the Tampa area and just around, my travels. And actually the other night I was, at dinner with an early stage startup from a company in Southern Florida. One of the biggest mistakes that early stage companies make is their lack of focus. Right. So they'll get shiny object syndrome, right? Ooh, shiny object over there, right? They'll get distracted. They'll forget the current course and speed and what they were looking to achieve and deliver on over here, because then all of a sudden there's something new over there, right? So that's one of the biggest pieces of feedback or advice that I provide, right? If you got product market fit, you got something that's starting to, get buzz around, continue focus on that until you get a certain scale, and then you could start branching out and expanding and so on.
Mhm.
Lots of early stage startups will fizzle out because the founder of the founders, the team, they just want to do all and they don't know how to prioritize it, and then they give their customers whiplash and their prospects whiplash. Well, which way you going? And then they never deliver on their promises and kind of what they told their early customers. So that's probably the biggest piece of feedback that I'd have.
And it's solid because there's definitely a lot of trying to be the everything place. And just because they think one developer thinks they can do it and they have a couple of customers, I've seen the same thing, and they make a confusing product because they're trying to go in all the directions at once, but never finishing any of them because they've stretched themselves too thin.
And look, I mean, ConnectWise is far from perfect. Sometimes we get into that game ourselves, and it's important to have a strong leadership team and team around you as well. So we always go through a prioritization process and making sure that we, even at the size we are not getting distracted, right? And we're getting better. We're not perfect, and yeah, it's no matter what size it's important, but it's definitely more important at early stage.
Well, until you have something the size of the Google graveyard, if you ever seen that, there's a company that kind of jumps around a little bit, even at their scale. I mean, that's so they're it's not a good look for them. So and it's got to be hard. I mean, there's a lot of people, a lot of competing ideas, and focusing on what you do. Obviously, companies like Apple are really good at it because they have a smaller product base, but boy, they focus on those products, and that's why they're so popular.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just want to point out, Tim Golden would like to have dinner with you at some point. Just letting you know that, or you can teach him about whiskey, or he's going to teach you about whiskey. Tim doesn't even drink anymore, but he makes his own whiskey stuff. By the way,
He said the word "teach" him about whiskey.
Yes,
so him teaching me, or
yes,
okay.
Him teaching you. But then
I killed my own on the whiskey conversation. So
I would agree with that. I would agree. But don't worry, because Adam said, Tim, he still owes him dinner before that. So you're like second in line, I guess. But yes, I will attest, when it comes to whiskey and bourbon, you're definitely a good judge on it. For those of you that have not been to Tampa, there's most people want to know I love cigars. Jason doesn't love cigars, but he loves bourbon and whiskey. So there's the Davidoff place that has a phenomenal selection of everything. And I don't even know, I've had probably 4 different drinks there so far. I don't know where else to go. So I'll be using you as my tour guide. But yeah, if you're ever in Tampa, you guys need to go with us. That's all. So we have in 2 weeks from now, to come back around to the event itself, we're going to, all 18 vendors are competing at the Battle Royale, which is being hosted by the Channel Program with Matt Solomon and Kevin and myself being on it. And there's so many of them. We do 2 days of this, and this will be happening in 2 weeks. The one part of this conversation we've had, and you've been in sales too, so you can talk about things, which is important in this case. All along, all these webinars have been like about 45 minutes to an hour long of us talking like this with them, but they have to narrow their pitch down to 5 minutes. So
that's a tough one.
So any advice on what you would do or what you would cover high level, three things you may do to make it a 5-minute pitch that's impactful?
Focus on the problem solved for the customer base and hit it home. That's what I would do, right? That would be a big part of the 5 minutes.
Got it. Nope, I agree. So do you suggest if we compartmentalize this, do you suggest one thing I know that MSPs always want to look at is they want you to be at a level of credibility or authority. In other words, if they were an MSP, should they acknowledge they were an MSP first?
Yeah, I think I think you do it in a storytelling format for sure, right? So the problems you're solving for in a story format, bring in relevant analogies, bring in your credibility, right? You could do all that as you're telling the story of the pain points and challenges.
Yep.
But yeah, for sure, right? You want to, where you can bring in analogies where, the audience will understand, right? That goes a long way. Really the storytelling concept. So you bring in a few key things that will differentiate you. So hit home the problems being solved, but then the differentiators. And if you're from an MSP, that's obviously, we are you, right? So you can relate to the, customer base and so on better than others potentially. So yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, 5 minutes is a short time from 45-minute conversations. Some people are asking, should we present the product? I don't know, Tom. Would you want to see in 5 minutes? You think you could cover anything of substance? And
No, and I also as an MSP, some of them, and I mentioned this to even one of the vendors that I had an offline conversation with. I told them they led with money. We're going to save you money and things like that. I'm like, well, cool. Or you're going to make you more money, but they lead with that. Let's get to the problem. One of the problems they had with Epton, which they have now since redone their site, was what do you do? And besides save me money, great, because everyone tells me that they're either going to save me money or make me money. But what do you do? And what are the problems you solved? And critical pain points for the MSPs right now is we don't have enough staff. We have more things thrown at us, more regulations, more things that can be solved with automation. So cool, you're going to automate a process so I don't have to hire people. If you lead with, where you're solving my pain point, cool, I'm positive I'm gonna make money on it. If you bring greater efficiency and you create an automation so I don't have to hire 2 more people to do it, I can put that in the back of my head and leave it at the end of your pitch of how this is going to create an efficiency to save me money. But I think that's just one of those, things where too many people start out with this, I'm going to save you dollars or make you dollars. And I'm like, let's get to what you do. I don't mind the establishing that you used to be an MSP. You can establish that, okay, cool, you've been doing this. You understand my pain because you were in the same position before you built this product. So maybe you vetted it a little bit. So those are some of the things I think about when I'm hearing a pitch, or even just going to their website, because you're lucky to get 5 minutes out of me on a website to figure out what you do. And if it takes you more than 5 minutes to figure out what you do, your website's, needs a little work.
I agree. Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's dig in. I don't disagree with you, Tom. If I'm thinking about this when I go to present, and when I focused on strictly sales, it was about, these are the problems we solve. When I focused on the marketing and branding, we're here. This is the problem we're solving. And you definitely should tie in the authority aspect if you are down as you speak to it, right? I mean, I think it's important. That way, at least they understand that you identify where we're coming from. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. But, so now the other question they ask is, should we put pricing on there? Should we talk about that in the pitch? A 5-minute pitch. Jason, what do you think?
So they're pitching to people to say, hey, the concept and the business should go to the next round, right? That's ultimately what this pitch is
to get them to the final 3. Right? Yep. This is trying to get the attention of the MS, and we're presenting to MSPs.
Yeah, and then the MSPs vote. You have some voting, right? That will then say, here are the top 3 that will go through.
Yep.
I would actually say you don't want pricing to get in the way, right? I would always look, pricing is tied to value, right? So if you're in a time-saving business, right? Well, how much time are you saving? And if you're saving me a lot of time, that could be people, cost reduction, comp reduction, whatever, right? And so on. So price is not always apples to apples when you're dealing with 18 different companies, right? Because they do different things and so on. So I would say stay away from the cost pricing aspect altogether. And MSP should be voting on. And if I was pitching a concept in a company, I would say I want to be, voted on the merit of what we're solving and the concept, and that everyone buys in that it's the right thing.
Absolutely. What about, and I think come back to the promises, right? The ease of doing business. I think a lot of partners want to understand that, product makes sense, solving the problem that I want to solve, but also, can I work with you all? And I think so. Talk about when you're presenting in that case. I think most MSPs want to know you're going to be there for the long haul. You're going to be there side by side. But how easy is it to transact too? How easy, a big deal.
Again, I think some of that could come through in the story that's told. But yeah, for sure, those things, if you have time, right? 5 minutes, right? I mean, 5 minutes go by pretty quick, right? Especially when you're passionate about something, and something tells me these 18 companies, the people representing them, are pretty passionate about what they do and why they do it. So they're going to get into it. And next thing you know, 5 minutes, the bell's going to be ringing and, next one up. Right. So, yeah, what you could fit in, but you want to get your story across and don't put too much in it.
Rehearse it. That would probably be a huge one right there. You
Right.
get good at it. You get good at saying it. Say it in the mirror. Say it. Grab it. Everyone's got a phone. Hit record. Watch that timer go when you hit record. Does it hit 5 minutes or 6 minutes or 7 minutes? Re-listen to yourself. Figure out. Write it down if you have to. Keep going over it. It's fun. I think back to the times when I've done some of the business events where there's a guy that runs one of them. I love the fact that he has a bell. And when he tells people when he says you have 1 minute to introduce yourself, he hits a bell and it just disrupts everyone's like moving on. And he always points at them. If they do this, he goes, "Oh, no problem. I'll coach you after the event on how to make a shorter introduction." And he moves to the next person. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, okay. Use you as the example, Tom, because you're not a salesperson. A lot of our contenders are MSPs that have become vendors. How did you put yourself in a position to actually present? Because you do public speaking. You pitch your services, even though you say you don't. I know you have Brett, but you pitch your services. So how do you do it?
A lot of it's, I've actually taken the time, and I'm not a member anymore, but I went to like Toastmasters and things like that. Literally, I put the time in to understand and think about how you present publicly, how you be concise, how you choose the right words to be concise in your speech. And that matters a lot. If you say something confidently, it's often because you've said it a lot. It's because you believe it. And these are things that it starts coming through, and you realize that people are like, oh, you speak well to it. You're not umming your way through it. And it's because I've been doing it for so long, and I've thought about that as a process. I don't just think about what I'm going to say. I think about how you're going to say it. And yes, I have rehearsed. And even today, recording a video, I threw away 7 versions of it before I published the 8th one that I recorded. And I've been doing it for a while because I still take the time to focus on it. Take the time to do it. It sounds weird. It's cheesy talking to yourself in front of a camera like that, but it really will help hone and give you a more concise answer, and that will come through. People are kind of buying whether or not they like you, whether or not they like your product, whether or not you pitched it in a competent way. So those little things add up to bringing a well-presented thing. I actually knew someone who was on the real Shark Tank, and boy, it was really interesting learning all the behind the scenes that went into that, how many takes there were before what you've seen on TV before they walked out on the stage. There's a lot more takes to it until they got it where it is as confident as it could be.
So you mean tell me that wasn't all just on the fly? Really?
There's no. I'm under NDA to tell you exactly how it's done.
That's probably why they're annoyed by. That's why they're able to argue with them. It's like, dude, this is 25 takes. Now we just don't like you.
It starts a year ahead of time. They actually know all the stuff so long ahead. Of recorded some of their videos for their original pitches that they sent, and I got the instructions on how to. We'll talk about that over beer sometime at IT Nation.
Just when it's not on camera.
It's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of learning how they actually do it. But I mean, it's to present something very concise for television. So I understand why it went there. But it still made me think about all the time they took to build that pitch, so to speak.
Absolutely. But what's the importance of being concise? I mean, Jason, you do a lot of keynotes. You do a lot of talks at our conferences and and elsewhere. How many times do you go through? I already know the answer kind of, but how many times do you have to practice, and how spot on do you have to be to get up there on stage before you get up there?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously practice is something that we have to do to pull some of that off. Look, when I do stuff, I'm not looking to be perfect. And I think many people probably even on this call have seen me on after hour calls and happy hour calls and whatnot. I do enough to get the messaging and points across. Look, most people are uncomfortable, whether it's, in front of a video camera on stage or whatnot. So the practice is about getting the points across the way that you want them across so the audience understands it, right? So no different than in this 5-minute pitch. That's what everyone should be focused on. If you stumble, you just keep going, right? I mean, like Tom was saying, I've got whatever the voice recording on my iPhone here, and when I'm prepping for a keynote, I'll have my slides in front of me. I'm in the hotel room for days before, and I'll record it, 5 different ways, and I listen to it and I try to memorize it. And does it come out that way? Nope. but you know what? I get the 5 points that I'm trying to get across. That's all that I care about at the end of the day, right? So if I get those 5 points done or whatnot, then I'm good to go. And how they get delivered at that point, the passion and the energy when you're doing it will come across. So, but yes, practice does go a long way. Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, can we just, Adam, are you serious, dude? It's not a Flash logo polo. It's the Tampa Bay Lightning. You're sure? Are you? Anyway, it's one of our contestants, by the way.
I like that he thought it was a Flash logo. That made me happy. Knows we got some geeks in the crowd. All right.
Every one of us are geeks in the crowd. What are you talking about? So, okay. So let's talk a little about your currency. You know, we always ask the question to all our guests, what is it that makes you do what you do? What is your currency? What's important to you?
Well, hold on. I just saw one of the comments from Michelle Ragusa McBain saying, own it till you hone it. I like that. Right. So, as you practice and you're honing it. Right. So, yeah, I like that a lot. So
I agree with that. Any other comments you want me to pull up first? I mean, you can just run the show. It's fine. What do you want to talk about here?
No. So what was the currency question?
Yeah. What is your currency? What makes you tick? What's important? What's the values?
What makes me tick? What's important? So look, a couple of different things, right? So obviously, on the personal side, my family, very important to me, right? Mm-hmm. My wife, my 2 kids, my parents, all that stuff, big with the family and friends. And everything I do is for that in my life. With that said, when I shift to, work, right, and me as an individual and my career, it's this, right? It's the MSP channel, it's the TSP channel, where I've been in this space my entire career since 1999. I was at a reseller company in Manhattan, 99 through 2002, doing things that many people on this doing the same roles and jobs at those companies that some of the people on this call are probably doing today. So it's just such a great industry, and what we all do, and the stuff problems we solve for small businesses globally, right? They're at such a disadvantage, and what the MSPs do, the TSPs do, and vendors like ConnectWise, how we help you do what you do, is tremendous, right? Because otherwise, small businesses are at a huge disadvantage, right? So personally, my wife and my kids and family and friends, that's my world. I love, sports, Tampa Bay Lightning. Yep. Not the Flash. So pretty big hockey fan for the last, call it 10 plus years. I'm still
that's weird. You mean since they started winning Stanley Cups, you've been a hockey? That's weird.
Yeah. Oh.
Not implying anything, but I'm just coincidental.
They've done well for 10 years for sure.
Yes, they have.
But they just started winning the cup the last couple of years. Didn't win this past year. So
you can't win them all. And but by the way, we have George here. He's from Boston, so nobody's perfect. And the Bruins, I mean, God, really, I couldn't begin to really end the conversation on the Bruins. There's so much wrong there, especially if you're a hockey fan. They are just.
To close out, right? Sports, family, all that stuff. And then, it's this industry, man. That's really what motivates me and I'm passionate about. Sean, you've probably learned this about me. I don't sleep at night, right? I'm working pretty much 19, 20-hour days, trying to figure out what's next. And I've been known to jump on late night calls and text with MSPs, at 1, 2 in the morning and whatnot. So
no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, as a matter of fact, I posted in our internal teams. I put you on. I tagged you on it too. I saw some messages in Facebook groups. Yeah, I think you're the only CEO of a company our size that is consistently engaged in the community elsewhere. Because you could take the ivory tower approach, right? You could always never involve yourself, which a lot of big companies, their CEOs never are there. They're never short. So I find it admirable. It makes it easier for me to support you because then I can believe in you. And I think that's the important.
It's
I mean,
something I've interacted with you a couple times because same thing. It's you've been there, you're at events, and I always think that's pretty cool. Even at the CompT events, so not even ConnectWise events, you're there, you're engaging with the people in the conversational way, and I think that's something I appreciate too, seeing you out there because at a company your size, it's not as often you'll see the CEO in the crowd.
Yeah, look, I mean, and I can't speak to how, my peers out there, how they operate, where they spend time on and whatnot. But when I took on this role 3 years ago, when I got promoted into it, and I've been at ConnectWise for over 11 years now, right? So got promoted in to the CEO role when Thoma Bravo acquired us. I had it was a new role for me, new things all around, right? So I had to figure out how am I going to spend my time? And, I've finally gotten to the point, I would say, over the last 12 plus months where I've got a good, healthy balance and mix of how I spend my time. And there's a good 20 to 25% that I need to spend with my partners, right? My customers, who we call our partners. And if I look at other CEOs of big companies, right, they deal with mid-market enterprise, have a lot less customers, and it's not as transactional, high volume like we play in, right, in the small business space. And a good way for me to do what some of those successful CEOs do is through scale, right? So how do you get that through scale? You go to events, right? You do webcasts like this that have hopefully hundreds and then more that will view it. Just ways that I could have two-way communication. And it's important, right? That's what keeps me grounded to where ConnectWise needs to be better and how we need to do things. And I've made significant amounts of change within ConnectWise, from process to people and other things based on what I've heard and experienced, and some of the challenges that we brought about inadvertently and whatnot. And then trying to figure out what's next, chat and, talk to many as to, hey, what do you think 3-5 years from now? And I'm not going to get that, talking to people one-on-one. So it's important for me to continue to get out and spend a good 20-25%. Sometimes it's 40%, depending upon month and what's going on in my schedule and so on. So yeah, it's important. It's a big part of what I do every day.
And it shows that I was a comment, something that I really appreciated, that when there was some complaints in the early days of PitchIT, Sean took it head on of someone didn't like certain language and he fixed it all. And that's the outcome, because people, I think, were shocked at how quickly you got it all done. And it's a different outcome. Some people think, oh, I get to complain about it and I can do a hot take and just say it like, oh no, they fixed it. Oh, I can't just keep taking shots. No, you had some good points. So we fixed the language and moved on. All right, cool.
And I see Jason wasn't privy to that conversation. It was
I know, Sean. We're gonna have to talk afterwards.
Yeah, I got the beat down for a bit.
No, but look, even on that, look, I mean, we're not going to be perfect, right? Sean's not going to be perfect, right? So I've got a set of guiding principles that the company gets trained on. There's 20 of them. It's posted online for anyone to see. We've got internal versions that train our colleagues on that stuff. And look, as long as people are living within those guiding principles, our core values and whatnot, I want people to run, right? I want them to go make things, feel empowered, right? Are we going to be perfect and are we going to mess up on occasion? Yeah, it's going to happen. And as long as, in this example, Sean rectified it pretty quickly, that's what it's about, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say this. I couldn't agree more. Like, the one thing about working with you, Jason, even is we talked about that. You're like, hey, just go figure this out. Just stay within the rules. Here's your rules, man. Here's the rules. Go figure it out. You're looking for people to be resourceful, and you've supported. You guys have all supported me, and everybody knows that I'm definitely not. I'm not a corporate guy. We all know that. But that's so I mean, let's leave it at that. But
Sean's well intended. That's how all the conversations start.
Yeah.
Like that for Sean in high school too.
Yeah, no, and
we think he means well.
Yeah, well, that's exactly Jason and I had that conversation after I started. He's like, just gotta make sure you do what you gotta do. You're gonna get your assignments from Tony. And if you guys don't know Tony Thomas, he's a pretty intense dude. He's real, like he and I are probably similar to each other in different ways, but the same. And
Passion.
Yes. So I'm okay with the word intense also. Very passionate. Yes. And yeah, no, you guys have been very supportive. You've been very supportive of it. And it, something you said to me was very empowering and powerful in general was you said, every decision that was made for ConnectWise was made in this room with me and the people around me. And I think that was one of the things that was very important for me, because MSPs felt like a PE firm came in and took over and told you what to do. But instead you said, look, the fact is we made decisions. You said good or bad, they were all made with us. And that's a strong message for me anyway.
Yeah, we're not going to be perfect. And, first time CEO, I made a couple of mistakes and I still will. So
thanks, Matt Solomon, by the way.
I love that feature where some of that stuff pops up there. So
yeah,
I don't know how you guys do it. You click on it, it pops up. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to actually. Yeah. So, while we have you on the call, I'm trying to get us to start using StreamYard or ConnectWise. Maybe you can let some people know. That's all. Moving on though.
Sean's favorite question is that?
No, not yet.
Oh,
Speaking
not
of
yet?
which, just want to make sure people remember to sign up for the.
I'm hoping that we run out of time, Tom. I don't know.
Oh, no,
we'll run out the clock.
Oh, well then good. Let's get to the most important question. So, Jason, what is your love language? Everybody answers. You're not impervious to this.
Everyone answers, huh?
Everyone on our show answers, yes.
So does everyone answer about the way I'm going to answer, though?
It's whatever. Hey, it's your life.
We've had some interesting answers.
Yeah. But
well,
go
look,
ahead.
I'm sure there's some quiz that I take and will give me that. And I think I did this at an HTG thing about 12 years ago, give or take. So I don't remember exactly where I landed, but I would say some of this is dependent upon, kind of the mood and what's going on around me and whatnot. I think things change, right? Definitely like the words of affirmation. Yep. Like receiving gifts, like spending quality time,
So basically you're just greedy is what you're telling me. You want everything.
Yeah, why not? But no, look, I mean, I really do like, I would say words of affirmation for sure is probably on the high end. Unless, and my wife will tell you this, she can't buy me anything because I don't want anything. So probably less on the receiving gift side. But yeah, it's always good to get the affirmation that you're doing the right things and what people think about you and so on. So,
well, according to Louis, you're multilingual. So
we'll go.
That's what you want to call it, Louis. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So basically everything, but everybody that's watching this, just please go on like Facebook or something. Tell Jason's doing a great job. Because words of affirmation are important.
Only if you believe that to be.
Fair enough. If you believe it to be. Okay. We're up to the top of the hour, and I know you're busy. We're all busy. Thank you for taking the time. Seriously, we really
much
appreciate it.
No, thank you. I mean, this was great, and before I do go, I want to congratulate the 18 participants of the program to getting to this point. I wish you the best of luck on, I think it's September 30th or
August 30th, September 1st.
Yeah, for the preliminaries. Is that what it's called? So for the
Battle Royale. Royale.
So good luck on all of that. I appreciate all the coaches and everyone who has taken the contestants, I guess we'll call them, through the last 16 weeks. Greatly appreciate that because, hopefully we're going to make these 18 companies, regardless of outcome, to be the vendors and participants in our world, the best that they can and the way we all like working together. And just appreciate you all. So thank you.
Thank you. And just a side note, 9 of the vendors that are in this are sponsoring IT Nation Connect.
Nice.
So they will be there. And the ones that aren't sponsoring are looking to attend as well. Obviously they're startups, so money's an issue for them, of course. So, and I will give it to Davina and team. They did a great job at helping everybody to at least make it a more affordable offering from the sponsor the first time around as a PitchIT contestant, which was awesome. So yeah, you're going to see them. we'll make sure whenever they're all there that I'll bring you around and introduce you to them all personally.
All right. Sounds
And
good.
Jason,
Look forward
Jason
to
loves
it.
Jason loves giving speeches at the bar. So just letting you all know.
Yes.
So yes, thank you, man. I really appreciate you jumping on this. Seriously, I think you gave some really good nuggets for everybody. It's good to hear from the horse's mouth sometimes, though, considering you are the CEO and this was your founding baby. So thank you again. I have nothing else to say. Tom, it's on you, man.
Oh, I'm good. I much appreciate for coming on. Thank you for taking the time with us. So
Yeah.
Good way to wind this down. We're looking forward to covering who the winner is of PitchIT and some other details that come out of it. So that's exciting. Links
we're
are
gonna
in
know
the
second week.
description.
Yes, everything's in the description. But second week of September, guys, you'll know the answer to the 3 finalists. And a lot of our vendors are watching right now, and they're all like, "Okay, let's go."
Yeah.
So yeah,
Start practicing those pitches. Get it down to 5 minutes. That's
yeah. Actually, talk to Michelle McBain. She'll tell you how to do it. She's good at this. Like she's really freaking good at this. So
she knows all about the public speaking side of it. So
yeah, exactly. So talk to her, and she can fit 1 million words within 3 minutes without even a breath. She's amazing at it.
right.
Seriously, Michelle's awesome. She's a good friend. But anyway, we got to end this. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was a pleasure.
All right.
Look
Everyone take care.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Later. Thanks.